Hello, everybody, and welcome back. You're gonna notice something different. There's a face here, not exactly gameplay footage overlaid with crappy editing skills and such. I don't even think I'm going to actually edit the audio to this. I think I'm just gonna do this, all natural. See if I like, uh, see if I like doing the all natural. Oh my God, look at those dark circles. I need to sleep just a little bit more. But see if I like doing face-to-face conversations more than I like sitting there taking gameplay footage, editing it, making sure my edits are on point, and so on and so forth. But so on to the full topic of the video. What you guys typically don't know is when I hop into an jump into a hobby, I usually I go hard. I go all in on it, and that's all I can think about for like months. And this current obsession, I guess you could call it, would be it's cyberpunk. I don't know how else really to introduce it besides just being flat out. I'm stuck currently on cyberpunk, just all over it. I figure for anybody who wants to get into cyberpunk for further than just the anime and further than just Cyberpunk 2077, I figure I'd put together a buyer's guide of sorts. Cause I mean, I mean, I have a stack of just shit next to me. I have a stack of source books. I have a stack of source books sitting right next to me that I'm gonna end up showing you throughout the course of this video. And I figure I'll show you where to start with it. Understand that as I progress through the world of cyberpunk, I'll be doing updates of sorts, maybe lore videos and all that. But I mean, I've only played 5 total sessions right now. There's not much in the way of explanation that I can give you as of late. I haven't played 2077. I've watched Edge Runners, and I've poked my nose through Cyberpunk Red. So I figure we'll start small, buyer's guide, and then we'll go from there. Because I figured doing these videos for you would also help me gather an understanding of Cyberpunk as a whole. And I can be corrected by people who know leagues more about this magnificent tabletop than I do. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. As a recommendation, I do suggest that you watch the anime or play at least a little bit of 2077 just to kind of get a taste of the world that you're going to end up dipping your toes into. I mean, one of my buddies sat me down and we watched through Cyberpunk Edge Runners in like 2 days. It would have been a day, but we both worked night shift, and I am not an insomniac. I like my sleep and I like it a lot. But we sat down and we watched all of it, and that pretty much kicked it off. I loved the world of the anime, and I wanted to get I wanted to get further into the story. So I googled cyberpunk just to see what was out there, and discovered, an entire genre. Like, holy shit. So, my recommendation is that you do one of those two things: watch the anime or play 2077, just like I said, just to get a taste of the world, get a taste of what you're going to be diving into as you go to start, picking up the tabletop or what have you. Or maybe or maybe you've seen the anime and play the game, and are making your way into the tabletop. That's also a possibility too, and you're here for the actual buying guide. So Well, we'll go ahead and get into what I recommend you get first. You only need, I'd say, two items to start with. Really, just the one, and that would be, your handy dandy freaking core rulebook. It's mirrored, but you get the point. You really just need the core rulebook to get started. I mean, the other stuff I'm going to recommend on top of this is just supplemental type stuff. But start right there. Start with the core rule book, and then the rest will come naturally. All the better, all the better if you have access to a printer, and you'll see why in a minute. Secondarily, I suggest you get the DM screen, especially if you're going to be, well, in this case they call it GM, but secondarily, I suggest you get the GM screen. It's going to be incredibly handy when you're running a Cyberpunk Red campaign. It's got so many nice little snippets of info. It functions just like a Dungeons and Dragons DM screen. You get all these nice little, sorry, hopefully you can see that, all these nice little stat blocks, so on and so forth. And maybe I'll put up external photos of this stuff as I go by so that it doesn't look like shit. But anyway, I do suggest you get the GM screen. It does come in handy. Before I move on, just a warning: the book can be extremely vague when explaining some stuff, like a signal. For example, the signal jammer. It just says jams incoming and outcoming radio communications. Nothing further than that. Or as a GM, I allowed for, you can go one of two routes with it. You can either just make that enemy specific, or you can encompass all signals. I was a little lenient and just said it was it was just enemy specific signals that I jammed, or that were jammed, and we moved on from there. But as you play the game, you're gonna come to an understanding that you cannot be nice to your players in this game. I gave my players entirely too much stuff when they first started, and now they're like effectively gods. Now that we're out of like the two necessities, the next thing that I go ahead and I recommend is that you get the data pack. This is just the folder it comes in. I already done went ahead and cleaned it out and kind of organized it, but it comes with a little how to play guide. It comes with character sheets, battle maps, so on and so forth. A little campaign module that you can run. I call it a campaign module, but it's a little closer to like several individual sessions. It's not linked by any sort of overarching story that you can come up with on your own. That's kind of actually how I got launched into this campaign that I was running. Initially, my Cyberpunk campaign was just supposed to be a one shot, but that kind of took off, and we've just been kind of playing, frequently since. I'm actually kind of proud of that. But anyway, yeah. Next recommendation would be the data pack. And those three things are the basic of basics. Clearly the core rule book, then the data screen, and then the data pack if you need it. I mean, if you have, like I said, if you have access to a printer, you don't necessarily need the data pack, because kind of like the player's handbook in D&D, there is a character sheet that you can just photocopy and be done with it. But I like having pre-printed character sheets. I'm a little spoiled like that. And then and now we're gonna get into like stuff that I bought just for the hell of it. Things that are supplemental that you don't necessarily need to play the game, but you know, things that are definitely helpful, especially in the realm of net running. And I went ahead and I picked up the Cyberpunk net running deck. It helps out when you're trying to set up and play through a net architecture. Comes with it's like a pack of like 60 playing cards. Um, I don't know exactly the immediate number because I am no 45. Sorry, 45 playing cards. Comes with 7 actual control cards or floor cards like password cards, control nodes, file cards, so on and so forth for when you're building a net architecture. Then it comes with an ungodly amount of black ice programs and artificial intelligence, or yeah, virus cards and such, or virus programs. And then it comes with a nice little chunk of net running programs for your player to use. I'll read the back of it real quick for you. Just to tell you what it has: 15 program cards, those are for your netrunner, 27 black ice cards, 3 demon cards, and 7 floor cards. And it's a real nice little visual aid because sometimes theater of the mind isn't exactly an active or isn't exactly the best when it comes to net running. I figured that out. So that's been a very handy situation, or a very handy item to have. My God. I'm going to go ahead and tell you the price of these items really quick. So the core rulebook ends up being $60 plus tax, 63, something like that. You can order all this stuff on the Talsorian Games website. I'll go ahead and leave a link to that for you to peruse. The Cyberpunk Red data pack ends up being $20. The GM screen also ended up being $20. So you're already dropping $100 on the GM screen, the data pack, and Cyberpunk Red, the core rulebook. And then the net running cards ended up being like $15. So that's $115. The next set of supplementary source books, those vary. Oh my god, what is my hat doing? So I got 3 other supplementary source guides. 4, actually. 4 other supplementary source guides. First up is Tales of the Red, Hope Reborn. It is a full feature-length street-level campaign module if you don't feel like writing out your own story in Cyberpunk. That costs $40. Next up is Tales of the Red Street Stories. I'll give you a better view of the other one too. Why not? Hope Reborn is the full feature-length campaign, and Street Stories ends up being another 9 individual sessions. You can start with any of the sessions in there unless it specifically states in the book that you have to play session A before session B, or yeah, campaign A before campaign B. You can also use the Street Stories campaign module to kind of kickstart your own homebrew campaign. The last 2 books that I ended up getting, they were $40 a piece as well. And that ended up, we'll end up starting with Danger Gal's Dossier. Danger Gal's Dossier is a book of it's the who's who of Night City. It's a book of NPCs. It's uh, complete with stat blocks and all that, all the different gangs, right down to the who's who of NCPD. It's a nice, real supplemental guide if you want to get like named enemies and mini bosses out on your field and such, or even mini bosses or bosses, same difference. I ended up using Danger Gal Dossier to kind of kick off the next section of my campaign. For anybody who is a friend of mine who is watching this and giving me the support, I will not be spoiling anything on camera. So good luck. Besides, I've already done talk your ear off about it as is, but you can use it to kind of kick off, your own homebrew storylines and such, or if you need a boss randomly in a session, there you go. It is the who's who of Night City. It is. I won't say it's a necessity because you can create your own stat blocks and such, but it is definitely handy to have. And finally, probably one of my favorites, Black Chrome. Do you want guns? Everybody wants guns. It is a book of guns, vehicles, cyberware, stuff that isn't in the core rulebook. You want extra cyberware, it's in there. You want better armor, it's in there. You want so on and so forth. It's definitely worth the purchase. Like one of my players ended up getting a single shot bullet finger and three or yeah a single shot heavy bullet or heavy pistol finger and three air hypo fingers. I won't tell you what they're for, but he got three air hypo fingers, which air hypos are pretty much like EpiPens, but they're full of, I guess, opium, I would assume. They're full of painkillers so that you can ignore the fact that you are bleeding out and start shooting back. I don't remember if I mentioned it early in this video. I am moderately tired, but there is one more thing that I ended up picking up. If you don't feel like spending almost $200 on books and you only want to play, you know, one session or maybe the same storyline several times with different choices, and you're still riding the high off the anime, pick that up. The Edge Runner's Mission Kit. I still haven't touched this. We're still going through a homebrew campaign, but I am going to incorporate the rules for quick hacking from the mission kit into my Cyberpunk Red campaign. And you can do stuff like that a number of different ways as long as there's an in-universe explanation for why it exists. So that ended up costing a hot $35. So all in all together, I've spent somewhere in the neighborhood of, you know what, we're gonna do some math. I Well, for starters, I got the data pack, the DM screen, and the core rulebook as a gift. So I will not count that into what I spent. 195. Fuck, I have almost $300 in books. Fuck, I went off the deep end. Oh my god. Okay. So if you plan on jumping off the deep end with me and going whole hog into this hobby, you're going to expect to spend roughly $300, maybe a little over, including shipping and handling if you decide to get off of the Talsorian Games website. A little over $300 will net you everything that I got. But if you want to just get a start, all you need is the core rulebook, and I would definitely recommend getting the DM screen. So you're going to spend $80 altogether. You'll have to forgive me, I'm still reeling over the fact that I have like $300 in source books just sitting on my floor right now. Like I never actually sat down and did the math on how much shit I have in this game. And I'm also looking into getting, Cyberpunk 2020 and all of those course books. There goes another $400. My God. At any rate, I genuinely hope that this buying guide was relatively helpful and that you make good use of it. If you enjoy seeing this ugly mug, go ahead and tell me in the comments if you want to keep looking at my face. If not, I can go right back to playing or right back to getting video game footage and just doing it that way. If you do like seeing my face, I will make an effort to upgrade, my hardware and maybe get better lighting. Just let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you decide to pick up Cyberpunk, let me know in the comments as well. I'm going to sit here and reflect on the idea of how much money me and the gift giver put into books. Take care, y'all.